Right, 45 degrees in Birdsville while Brisbane sits at 28. That's not a typo. We've got one of the most extreme temperature contrasts across Queensland right now, and your area is about to see some serious changes over the next 72 hours. Currently, the Bureau of Meteorology has severe thunderstorm warnings active for southeast Queensland, affecting over 2 million people. And what's developing in the Coral Sea could make tomorrow afternoon absolutely wild. Hear us exactly when your city gets impacted. Brisbane, severe storms possible from 3 p.m. Friday, heaviest between 5 and 8 p.m. Gold Coast, you are looking at similar timing, maybe 30 minutes earlier. Sunshine Coast, storms arrive around 2:30 to 3 p.m, then intensify through the evening. Toowoomba, you'll cop it first around 1 p.m. Friday. Ipswich and Logan, brace for 3:30 to 6 p.m. Is your suburb ready for potentially damaging winds and heavy rainfall? Chuck your location in the comments right now and I'll give you specific timing in tomorrow S update. Now let S break down what S actually happening here. We've got a low pressure trough sitting over inland Queensland and it is not moving. That S problem number one. Problem number two is the moisture being dragged down from the Coral Sea with dew points in the mid-20s right across the southeast. When you combine that with daytime heating, tomorrow hitting the low to mid-30s, you've got all the ingredients for explosive storm development. The Access model is showing scattered severe thunderstorms developing over the ranges from around midday Friday, then tracking east towards the coast through the afternoon and evening. But here, S, where it gets interesting. The European model suggests these storms could organise into a more persistent band, meaning instead of hit and miss activity, we could see more widespread heavy rainfall. That difference is massive for areas like Brisbane, the Gold Coast and the Sunshine Coast. Tomorrow morning, S model runs should clarify which scenario we are dealing with. For Sydney, you are actually looking at pretty decent weather Friday. 26 degrees, partly cloudy, light winds. But don't get too comfortable because Saturday brings a southerly change with showers developing and temperatures dropping to 22. Sunday looks better, back up to 25 with clearing conditions. Melbourne, bit of a rough trot for you lot. Friday starts warm at 29 degrees, but a strong cold front sweeps through Friday evening. Storms likely, some could be severe with damaging winds. Temperature crashes to 19 on Saturday with showers continuing. Sunday only makes it to 17 degrees. Feels like winter cess having a practice run. Perth, you are in a completely different weather pattern. 34 degrees Friday, 36 Saturday, 38 Sunday. It's not just the heat, it is the heat combined with very low humidity and gusty easterly winds. Total fire ban declared for several districts. If you're in the Perth Hills, Darling Scarp or anywhere in the southwest, extreme fire danger exists. This is serious stuff. Adelaide, you will see 28 Friday with increasing cloud. Then a cool change arrives Saturday morning, dropping you to 23 degrees with showers. Sunday looks clear and pleasant at 24 degrees. Hobart, you're actually warmer than Melbourne this weekend, which doesn't happen often. 22 Friday, 21 Saturday, 23 Sunday. Mostly sunny conditions, light winds. Enjoy it while it lasts. Darwin, classic build-up weather continues. 33 degrees with afternoon storms every day. You lot are used to this, but rainfall totals are adding up. Some areas north of Darwin have already copped over 150 millimetres this week. Canberra, 28 Friday, scattered showers developing. 21 Saturday with showers persisting. Clearing Sunday with 24 degrees. Pretty typical early autumn pattern for the national capital. Now, there's one thing that S got me concerned about Friday S setup in southeast Queensland. The wind shear environment is particularly favourable for supercell development. What does that mean for you? It means storms that develop could be long-lived, slow-moving and capable of producing very heavy rainfall in short periods. We re-talking potential for 100 millimetres or more in localised areas within just a few hours. Flash flooding becomes a real risk, especially in urban areas and low-lying regions. Hang on, let me clarify that because I don't want to panic anyone unnecessarily. Not everyone in southeast Queensland will see severe storms or heavy rainfall. This is going to be very patchy, very hit and miss. Some suburbs might cop an absolute drenching while areas just 5 kilometres away stay completely dry. That is the nature of severe thunderstorm events. But the ingredients are there for significant impacts where storms do develop. Let me run through some regional centres because I know not everyone lives in the capital cities. Newcastle, you are looking at 25 Friday with possible late showers, 22 Saturday with showers, 24 Sunday clearing. Wollongong, similar pattern but slightly warmer, 26, 23, 25 across the 3 days. Coffs Harbour, afternoon storms possible Friday, 28 degrees. Showers continuing Saturday, 26 degrees. Clearing Sunday, 27 degrees. You rewrite on that transition zone between the northern moisture and southern cooler air. Geelong, Ballarat and Bendigo tracking with Melbourne. That cold change is brutal across all of Victoria. Temperature drops of 10 to 12 degrees in 24 hours. Gold Coast, let me give you more detail because you are right in the firing line Friday afternoon, currently showing storm development around 3 p.m, intensifying through to 7 p.m. Rainfall could be very heavy with this. We're looking at potential for 50 to 100 millimetres, possibly more in localised areas. Damaging winds are possible and there's a small risk of large hail. The main threat is heavy rainfall and flash flooding. Sunshine Coast, your window is slightly earlier, 2:30 to 6 p.m. Friday. Same threats apply. Noosa, Maroochydore, Caloundra, all in the target zone. The models reckon storms could persist into Friday evening as well. Townsville, you're in a different pattern altogether. 32 degrees with afternoon storms every day. Nothing severe expected, just typical wet season activity. Rainfall totals around 10 to 20 millimetres daily. Cairns, similar deal, 31 degrees, afternoon storms 10 to 30 millimetres. The real heavy rain is staying offshore this week. Toowoomba, you are actually first cab off the rank Friday. Storms developing over the ranges around midday, moving east through the afternoon. 27 degrees could see significant rainfall. You are elevated enough that flooding isn't usually a major concern, but surface water and runoff will be an issue. There is still a bit of uncertainty around how far south this activity extends. Currently, Access is showing northern New South Wales could see some storm activity Friday afternoon and evening. Lismore, Casino, Ballina, you might cop some heavy showers. But the European model keeps most of the action north of the border. We'll have a better idea tomorrow when the models come into better agreement. Ipswich and Logan, you re-sandwiched between the ranges and the coast, which often means you cop it from both directions. Storms developing over the ranges Friday afternoon. Track your way around 3 to 6 p.m. Heavy rainfall is the main concern, with localised areas potentially seeing 70 to 100 millimetres, right? Let's talk about Saturday because Friday isn't the end of this. The low pressure trough doesn't really move much, which means scattered storm activity continues across southeast Queensland Saturday afternoon and evening. Not as widespread or severe as Friday, but still capable of producing locally heavy falls. Brisbane, 28 degrees Saturday, storms developing around 2 to 5 p.m. Sunday looking better, partly cloudy, 29 degrees, isolated showers only. Bunbury, Geraldton, Kalgoorlie and Broome all experiencing significant heat. Southwest WA pushing mid to high 30s, inland areas hitting 40 plus. Total fire ban across multiple districts. This is deadly serious heat. Mount Gambier and Whyalla experiencing that same cold change. Alice Springs and Katherine maintaining typical inland and tropical patterns respectively. Now, at around the 3-minute mark, I should remind you again, if you haven't already, chuck your location in the comments. Tomorrow's update will have more specific suburb level timing, especially for southeast Queensland. The more precise your location, the more accurate I can be with timing. Let me talk about what happens next week because this pattern doesn't just switch off. Monday, that trough starts to move slightly east, which could bring another round of storms to the coast. Tuesday looks like a brief ridge of high pressure builds, giving us a drier day. But Wednesday, another trough approaches from the west. It's this constant procession of troughs and moisture that's keeping things active. Brisbane, Monday 29 degrees with storms, Tuesday 30 degrees mostly sunny, Wednesday 28 with storms redeveloping. Melbourne, Monday 19 with showers clearing, Tuesday 21 and sunny, Wednesday 23 partly cloudy. Sydney, Monday 24 with showers, Tuesday 26 and clearing, Wednesday 27 mostly sunny. Actually, I should be more specific about fire danger because this is critical for Western Australia and parts of South Australia. Friday, extreme fire danger ratings across much of the southwest WA. That means if a fire starts, it will be extremely difficult to control. Total fire bans are in place. No outdoor fires, no angle grinders, no slashing, nothing that could create a spark. This is deadly serious. Northern Brisbane suburbs, Logan and Redlands, all looking at 3 to 7 p.m. Friday for storm activity. Western suburbs around 4 to 7 p.m. It's patchy though. Some areas will cop heavy rain while others stay dry. The thing about these trough-driven storm events is they incredibly difficult to predict precisely. Models do a good job showing the overall pattern, the moisture, the instability, the lift. But exactly where individual storms fire up, that's nearly impossible to nail down more than a few hours in advance. That why I'll be updating tomorrow with the latest model runs. Redcliffe Peninsula, Moreton Bay Islands, Pine Rivers Corridor, all in that borderline zone. Could go either way depending on storm tracks. The compounding threat here is soil saturation. Some areas have already received good rainfall this week. When you dump another 50 to 100 millimetres on already wet ground, that when flash flooding becomes dangerous. Creeks rise rapidly, roads flood, water gets into properties. If you in a flood-prone area, Friday afternoon is the time to be vigilant. Gympie, Bundaberg, Rockhampton and Mackay all seeing typical wet season patterns. You north enough that the severe storm threat is lower, just standard afternoon activity with 10 to 30 millimetres. The one location that could cop something unexpected is the Lockyer Valley. Gatton, Laidley, Helidon. The valley orientation means storms can intensify as they move through, and with the soil already fairly saturated, flash flooding is a real possibility. Friday 2 to 5 p.m. is your critical window. Fair dinkum, the temperature contrasts across Australia right now are something else. While Perth is pushing towards 40 degrees, Tasmania is sitting comfortably in the low 20s. That like having two different seasons in the same country on the same day. Warwick and Stanthorpe on the Darling Downs, URE elevated and ULC storms earlier in the day, around 1 to 3 p.m. Friday. Good rainfall possible. Byron Bay, just over the border in New South Wales, 28 degrees Friday with possible late storms. 25 Saturday with showers. 27 Sunday clearing. Tweed Heads, same deal as Byron, essentially. You rewrite on that southeastern Queensland pattern. Now, there's also something brewing in the Coral Sea that I am keeping an eye on. Nothing imminent, nothing to panic about, but there's a tropical low that could develop early next week. It's currently showing signs of organisation about 800 kilometres northeast of Cairns. Models are split on what happens with it. Some show it staying offshore and weakening. Others suggest it could develop into a tropical cyclone. This is very early stages, lots of uncertainty, but it's something to monitor. Check back tomorrow because if the models start showing better agreement, that becomes relevant for next week's forecast. At the 12-minute mark here, last reminder, get your location in the comments. Especially if you are in southeast Queensland, I'll give you suburb-specific timing tomorrow once we've got the latest model data. The jet stream position is interesting this week. It dipped quite far south, which is helping to steer these cold fronts across southern Australia. That why Melbourne, Adelaide and Tasmania are seeing such volatile weather. Meanwhile, Northern Australia has a completely different pattern with monsoonal moisture and tropical systems. The contrast is pretty extreme right now. Beach conditions Friday across the Gold Coast and Sunshine Coast are dangerous. Storm activity, strong rips, hazardous surf. If you hear thunder, get out of the water immediately. Saturday, marginally better. Sunday, looking more pleasant for beach activities. Yeah, look, I know this isn't ideal for weekend plans, but that's the pattern we're dealing with. Mother Nature doesn't care about our schedules. The rainfall totals for Friday across southeast Queensland are looking significant. Brisbane, 20 to 50 millimetres, with localised areas possibly seeing 70 to 100 millimetres. Gold Coast, 30 to 60 millimetres, possibly higher in storm cores. Sunshine Coast, 20 to 50 millimetres. Those are the current model outputs. But remember, with thunderstorms, it's incredibly patchy. Some areas will see massive totals, others barely anything. Actually, I should mention wind speeds because that's relevant too. Damaging wind gusts are possible with severe storms Friday, potentially reaching 90 to 110 kilometres per hour in storm cores. That is strong enough to bring down tree branches, damage temporary structures and create hazardous driving conditions. Could go either way at this stage, whether we see any large hail. The atmospheric profile supports it, but hail is notoriously difficult to forecast. It is certainly possible, particularly with any supercell storms that develop. Quick recap before we wrap up. Southeast Queensland, severe thunderstorms Friday afternoon and evening, heavy rainfall, damaging winds possible, flash flooding risk in localised areas. Saturday, continued shower and storm activity but less widespread. Sunday improving. Southern capitals seeing cold fronts and showers. Western Australia, dangerous heat and extreme fire danger. Northern Australia, typical wet season storms continuing. Now, obviously, weather forecasting isn't an exact science, especially with thunderstorm events. Models give us the overall pattern brilliantly, but the exact location and timing of individual storms, that S where uncertainty creeps in, that SY tomorrow S update is crucial. We'll have 12 more hours of model data. We'll see how storms are actually initiating, and I can give you much more specific information. Tomorrow S video, I am going to focus specifically on that Coral Sea tropical low, give you detailed suburb level timing for southeast Queensland storms if they re-still on track, and look ahead at next week S pattern. Should be up by 7 a.m. Saturday morning. If you haven't already, seriously chuck your location in the comments. It helps me understand where people are watching from and what information you need most. I genuinely read through them and use that to shape tomorrow S forecasts. Appreciate you watching, appreciate the support, appreciate everyone sharing their local observations. That ground truth is incredibly valuable. Stay safe, especially if you are in areas facing severe weather or extreme heat. Look after your mates. Check on elderly neighbours and don't take unnecessary risks. See you tomorrow morning, 7 a.m.